Okay, we're now into the top 10s of 2021, gents.
It just got interesting, Dave.
It did just get interesting, Duncan. It did. Because we already know our lists, obviously. We've seen them.
But Kyle's changed his. So.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Sorry,
Kyle's
I didn't realise there were rules.
No, this is perfect.
I thought this was metal.
No. It's not.
I believe you don't understand the law in Norway. In Norway, when you create a top 10 list, you can change it afterwards, Dave. So, no, that means that Kyle's list will be a surprise. And we can use the word Kyle surprise. There we are.
Okay, I'll leave that to you.
Every French person is going to be knocking on your door tomorrow saying,
I can't wait.
What did you do to our language?
Oui. Comment allez-vous, Dave? I can't remember what that is. Anyway, number 10.
Number 10. Okay, number 10.
Are we just gonna buddy up here?
Buddying up?
Yeah, we're buddying up.
Have we got the same for number 10?
Yeah, I believe so, unless you pulled a fast one here. Pulled a Kyle, as I like to call it. I believe we have the same number 10. This is our only crossover with me and you.
I see.
I've already done a crossover with Kyle, so...
Well, my number 10, if you remember when we reviewed this back in May 2021, a long time ago.
It's about 3 years ago, isn't it?
Oh, I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this album when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
But there was like something like missing. There was like one piece that was just like, what is it? What is this piece?
I wonder if I said to Dave at the time, you're going to regret this score, Dave. I believe I did at the time. I was like that. Nah, Dave, that doesn't seem right.
You did. But I had to go with my gut feeling at that time.
You always have to do that, Dave.
And I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm not scoring this a 5. But, we'll see what happens throughout the year. The album was a little album called Family, the Smiling Thrush.
Yep.
By the UK's boss, KELOID. And throughout the year, I went back to this album constantly. Just trying to figure out, what was that kind of missing piece. And in the end, it was pretty much just as simple as a bit more time.
Dave. See if you tell me it was you. This is going to be the greatest thing ever. I realised what was missing all along. It was me. I am now the second drummer in Boss KELOID. It's just you, like stuck Photoshop faces of you in the back, like.
It was just time. All I needed was a bit more time. And I think a few more months to just kind of sit and listen to this. I'm now at the point where it's an album I can kind of fully listen to and enjoy without feeling like there's something I'm not getting. Yeah. I think maybe I was concentrating a little too much on the music, because the music is flawless. Like the production, the ideas, the riffs. So I think I was so zoned in to what the guitars and the bass and the drums were doing that I wasn't really giving enough attention to the vocals. I knew they were there and I could hear, the melodies and stuff. But once I stopped and really just kind of listened to that tone and listened to those melodies and how kind of soulful it all was, it just kind of clicked. And I got it. And once I got it, this album just became a kind of regular in my playlist, and it shot its way up into my top 10. This is a stunning album, and I honestly believe these guys are on their way to becoming huge. The more I listen to this, the more I realise there is no one else that really sounds like Boss KELOID. They are very much in their own lane, and there's nothing stopping them from moving up into that kind of upper tier of bands that are just totally untouchable. And if there's one band that really kind of intrigued me as to what comes next, it's Boss KELOID. But whatever it is, I imagine it'll be stunning, to be honest. So just check this album out if you haven't heard it. They're a band from the UK. Difficult to pigeonhole to see what kind of style this actually is. Kind of sludgy, doomy, proggy.
Yeah, without mentioning 5 or 6 bands that are not in the same genre.
Exactly. Very difficult indeed, but so brilliantly done. Just very unique, and an absolutely stunning album. That's why it's made its way into my top 10. Duncan?
It's the same for me. Boss KELOID, Family, The Smiling Thrush, available through Ripple Music. Yeah. I was going from recalling memory. I just remember thinking that's a really tasty chocolate bar, and since I've given up chocolate and sweet stuff for a wee while, the thought of a Ripple just now just got me erect. So, like, in a way that's, you should never get that erect over a chocolate bar. But yeah, or maybe you should, I don't know. Each to their own. Yeah, like, it's weird you talked about that. I don't know, my brain's fucked, right? This is just, you're on the roller coaster with Duncan. You might as well pretend you enjoy it. I'll take a photo halfway through it, give you at the end, and you'll be like, is that the face I was pulling? Looks like my sex face. So yeah, like Boss KELOID, we spoke about it at the time. The hype train has already been left the station on the previous album, and it just never, that album, I still think it's a good album. I just don't think it's a great album. Comparing it to Family the Smiling Thrush, it's just like night and day. I think this album is incredible. It's interesting you mentioned like you then focused in on the vocals. I used like a couple of very bizarre ways to describe how I enjoyed this very bizarre sounding band. I think I talked about hedgehogs and weird shit like that. But I did mention one thing, and you focused in on the vocal part again. I weirdly made a comparison, not sounding like, but kind of bringing me in the same way that Peter Gabriel's solo stuff does. There's something about like when he moved away from Genesis and started doing his own thing, I found him just a much more interesting vocalist. But he's a very soulful singer, and his melodies are like really, really well placed and really well written. When in Genesis, I just felt he was a backseat to everything else that was happening. And Boss KELOID's the same. That's the thing that makes them the threat of becoming a huge band. Is there are other bands that play elements, maybe not all sounding the same in one band, but other bands that do the sludge thing, that do the rock thing, that do the prog thing, and do it really, really, really well. But what they don't have is that amalgamation of all those sounds with a vocalist that can sing like that. He's fucking great. And this album feels like attention and time and craft has been spent on every single second of it. And it shows. And the production is amazing. It's like one of those ones where it could only ever be on this band's album. That is that in tune with it. It is an incredible album. It really, really is. I feel embarrassed that it dropped to 10 because it was up in my top 5. But I think it really is a testament to, like what you were saying, a band that are just... I don't know where they go next. They could honestly go a number of different places, and I think they would be no worse for doing it. Easily the most exciting band in the UK at the moment, in terms of this is a band that could transcend. Your Boss KELOID could be huge in America. Boss KELOID could be huge in Asia if they wanted to. They're that sort of band. There's something universally encapsulating about their sound that I think just transcends, like the big bands do, like your Mastodons, like your Gojiras, like those bands that just seem to not be Five Finger Death Punch stuck in America. You know what I mean? It's those ones that can like extend out. Boss KELOID are at the cusp of that for the UK. I think they're fucking brilliant. I love this album. Number 10 for me was Boss KELOID, Family the Smiling Thrush, available through the deliciously sounding Metal Music.
Excellent. And Kyle, number 10.
Raspberry Ripple.
Oh, dude, don't, man, honestly. Just a wee bit of jizz came out. A wee bit.
My number 10 album is just an excuse for me to say something Scandinavian, to be honest. It's Nytt Lift and Döda Soul.
Nice.
But no, there's a few reasons for this album to be in my number 10 and so high. It's because the production, the songwriting, the execution of the parts and the musicianship, and that goddamn vocalist tone. Holy fuck. Just to name a few, I loved it just from beginning to end. It's just one of those albums that was, I've said it a lot, but floored me. Absolutely did. Just didn't know what to expect. I'd never heard of them before. And I was like, holy shit.
I want to be in a room when you listen to an album. The noises you pull are amazing. Yeah.
I do. I sit there and go, whoa. And my wife sat there going, what are you watching? And I'm like, I'm not watching anything.
I'm listening to something, woman.
Listening.
Yeah. So that was Nightlife with
Nightlife.
Big Doddy Soul.
Then
Big Doddy Soul.
Which wasn't in your top 10.
Daddy Soul.
Well, no, he's changed his top 10.
Change your fucking top 10, haven't you?
He said he changed his top 10.
Said he changed the order.
No, he said he changed. All right, I missed a bit where he said order. I thought he said he changed his top 10.
No, the whole thing's fucked up.
He ripped it up and threw it in the bin,
Yeah.
Dave. This is his
Fuck
brand
you.
new top.
When you
This
go
is
through
exciting.
20 albums, it's like, well, some of these score higher than others now.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You give him a couple of weeks, he will change it again, Dave.
Yeah, come on.
We'll be doing this recording in a couple of weeks' time to prove it.
Yeah,
The one
Back on this
fucking
one.
job.
Big Daddy Soul.
yeah.
With Nightlife.
Big Daddy Soul.
Big Daddy Soul. Soul Train. Right. So that's number 10. Go and say it right, just in case they are listening. I don't want to offend them.
Daddy Soul.
Thank you.
That's the Norwegian way.
Yes. Right.
The only way.
The only way is
Shots
Norway.
fired at Denmark.
It's the new reality TV show coming next year. The only way is Norway.
5 million people just stood in line going, we fucking told you.
Number 9. Let's move on. My number 9 is a band called VORVAN. And
Just fucking stroked this band off so much this year.
yes, I did.
So much this year, Dave.
Their album is called Awakened. These guys, man. These fucking guys.
You goes you.
This was my most played album of 2021.
Really?
Yep, VORVAN Awakened.
Is that before or after Stained?
Brand new drug for you, Vane.
Well, it's my number one album. However,
Yes.
my number one artist
It's still
most
Stained.
played is still Stained. Yeah, I got a
How
little.
the fuck can that be? After the Cancer Bats one, I would have thought,
Yeah,
And Dillinger.
and Dillinger, you must have really liked Stained.
How many times did you listen through those albums?
I don't know.
No wonder he was so hostile on it.
I got
So
got an
angry
email.
when he was reviewing it with like fucking band
got an
again.
email from Last FM to show me my year in listening, and that's what I had. Number one artist, Stained.
That's going to be that's going to be on their records for life, Dave.
Yeah. Number one
That's
album.
going to be in the
though.
liner notes of their next album. Dave's number one album.
Like they're going to have targeted ads to you, which is just going to be like it's going to be things like pickup trucks and shotguns and Make America Great Again.
Donald
Cats.
Trump. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, my number one album that I listened to the most was VORVAN Awakened. And I think just because there's so much on offer here, it kind of warrants all those listens. They are a Russian hardcore sludge band. Been on the go for about 12 years. This is their second album. It's an absolute mammoth from start to finish. Produced by the Dream Team, Kurt Ballou and Brad Boatwright.
Dreamy.
This just takes you on a journey, but with so many great moments along the way. It's thick and corrosive and ferocious sounding, and it's played like it's the last thing they will ever play. But in amongst all that, like bile and venom, there's this kind of bleak melody infused throughout it. But it never really overshadows the album's heaviness. But it gives it this feeling of kind of balance and a bit of a hook that just keeps you invested even more. And around kind of every corner, there's another riff that is just like a baseball bat to the face. And as painful as that sounds, it is such a joy to listen to. And that goes for the vocals as well. Eli has an unbelievable tone, just really full of like grit and venom and violence, and it just suits this style perfectly. But he's also got some really cool kind of tonal screams and a little bit of clean melody that he adds in. It just adds this additional layer to the sound, makes it even more interesting to listen to. This is another band that I'm really keen to see what happens next, because this album is just unreal. If you haven't heard it, check this band out. VORVAN. The album's called Awakened. Awesome. Number 9. Duncan, what you got at number 9?
Number 9 came in towards the end of the year. I fucking love it. It's Heiress with Distant Fires on Satan Ick Records. Royalty Records. Stanley Royalty Records. Another Brad Boatwright number. So we love you, Brad.
Brad.
Brad, we love you.
Kisses.
Call
far.
us Brad.
Taking that too far. You didn't ask for that. Your sexual advances are not warranted here, Dave.
Sorry.
Always with permission or not at all.
Hashtag sorry about that.
Yeah. Hashtag sorry about that. Let's trend it. Oh, man.
The MCA test sounds bad.
Oh, man. There's too many in-jokes now.
Sorry.
We need to throw them overboard so we can do more. Yeah, Distant Fires. This is the first time I'd heard Heiress, who I think are a couple albums into their career now. It's just so angry. It's just so angry. There were kind of swaths of. I think at the time I mentioned things like it reminded me of things like Heiress from back in the day. She's got this really kind of thick, kind of claggy. There's a Scottish word for you. Kind of claggy. Like it sticks to your. You listen to this album and you feel like it's on your clothes. It just stays with you afterwards. It's full of things that make me love music like this, and it's how much the vocalist bears his soul in what he does. We mentioned during the review that his voice regularly breaks in screaming, which a less intelligent person would go back and fix in post, which they don't do, and it adds to it because it's just raw emotion and grit and pain. And it works all the way through it. The production is so fucking good, so good. And the thing I love about my 20 gents, is the diversity. And I mentioned it before. There were bands here that were doing things. Diversity. There were bands that were doing things in genres that I love, but doing them at the highest caliber. And there's a great mix here. 2021 was a really rewarding year to be an eclectic metal fan, because every genre was kind of putting out its best, or it's certainly its best that I'd done in a while. And Heiress are a great example of that. It's thick, it's sludgy, it's got elements of kind of almost blackened hardcore, and it's just absolutely unrelenting from start to finish. There is no kind of brighter side or happy end note or closing song, which we're going to mention in a few of these albums in my 10, which was really soulful and just dragged me in with this incredible, everything about this album is designed to punish you, and I love that about it. It came in, heard it, gave it 5, rocketed straight to my 10, and with another couple of months it could have even went higher. I love it that much. So don't sleep on Heiress. Distant Fires on Satanic Royalty Records. They're from Washington? Seattle?
Or Seattle based now, I think so.
Seattle, Washington, yeah. So they're excellent. So check them out.
And Kyle, this could be interesting. Where are you going for your number 9, Kyle?
Who knows? Not even I.
Well, who knows except Kyle?
I might know. I might know now. I might know tomorrow.
Is this album even out yet?
Yeah,
see if he says roll
my
to
number 9 of
right
2021 is an album that's coming out this year.
Roll to man. Nice.
I'm leaving.
Number
right
8
now.
is an album that came out in 1978. Not Black Sabbath.
Give us it. Give us your name.
GOST, Rights of Love and Reverence.
Oh,
For all the mentions, Duncan, all the reasons Duncan mentioned earlier. It's big, it's easy, it's epic, it sounds fucking incredible. Well, it's probably not his best. It's definitely a fucking good album. And,
you could have went and listened to this in an industrial nightclub back in the day, which is when I know for a fact me and you both went. Not the same one, but that's how we'd spend our Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Trying to get into the goth birds. And a band like GOST would help you.
Yes, it would. Definitely. Just fantastic album. And it's still on repeat. All these ones are. So it's just going over and over. And I was like, yes, GOST has to be on this. GOST, come on, GOST. And I like how GOST isn't even a word. And they just... It's
not. You type it in and they try and sell you Ghost, which is why I have so many Ghost t-shirts. I keep trying to buy a Ghost one.
Did you mean Ghost? No, I fucking didn't.
It's actually very difficult to get GOST merchandise. Like over here, it's ridiculous. And that's not because the search engines will push you to GOST. It's just because, for whatever reason, he does limited runs. If you're listening to this, Mr. GOST, more cool shit in the UK.
Just keep doing it.
Yes, please.
Great.
Okay. Number 8. Number 8. This is where, I'm going to get a little bit fruity with our main label of 2021, the mighty Unique Leader Records.
Okay.
What a year! What a year they've had.
Busy year.
Have they had a busy? Are they?
I think, they're a small label, which you forget when you see how many albums are on them.
Yep.
It's nuts.
I felt like there was a point in the year where I felt like every week I was getting another Unique Leader Records album.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And it just felt like every album they released in 2021 was trying to outdo the one that they'd released before it. Every single time it was like, you think that's heavy? Wait a minute. We've got another album coming out next week that's going to blow your tits off. And there were a few that caught my attention. I've already mentioned Asaya and Loss, but my favourite release of Unique Leaders was from Cognitive and their new album, Malevolent Thoughts of a Hastened Extinction. Even though they've had previous albums, I'd actually never heard of them until 2021. And this record just absolutely blew my mind. It is the perfect example of modern death metal done with meticulous precision. And I think, like, in a time where death metal bands are trying harder and harder to kind of stand out from the crowd, a lot of those bands will try their hand at something new and try and create something that's never been done. Other bands just perfect the sound they had and leave no room for error, and that's what you get on Malevolent Thoughts. There is not a note out of place on this. Everything is there for a reason, and it's been methodically crafted until it's perfect. But it's a really rewarding listen as well. I found like every time I heard it, I'd noticed something I'd missed from before. Like a run in a particular solo, or even like a little bass drum pattern or something. And I ended up kind of appreciating the album and the musicianship even more than I did. And that goes for vocals as well. Initially, I think I was focusing so much on the music because I was just like, wow, this is fucking amazing. The riffs are awesome, the song structures are interesting. That I didn't really give vocals credit for what they were doing, but by God, Shane GOST is the vocalist, and his range is incredible. Like, and the tone is killer. Like, just the different notes that he's hitting with such intensity. It doesn't get much better than this when it comes to straight up kind of punishing death metal. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So much so I kind of went back and listened to other stuff that they put out, but I'm really looking forward to whatever these guys do next, because this was just done at such a high level. If you haven't heard it, check this one out. Cognitive, Malevolent Thoughts of a Hastened Extinction.
See, it's spreading now. Dave can't say it either.
What you got, Duncan? Number 8?
So this was the second album that I missed a review. I only missed 2 reviews this year. Only 2.
Shocking.
And it was for the birth of my daughter. So I will take that and be happy about it.
That's your one excuse that you're allowed to use.
That's the only excuse I was allowed to use. Contractually, I have to be in this chair at all times, just in case Dave wants to review an album, which he does a lot for some reason. Number 8 for me. Oh, dear God! See, when we start doing these awards and we talk about albums that make you want to shit your pants, LLNN are certainly that band. It is the heaviest. So I can't even begin to explain how heavy it is. Had I been on that review, you guys, had I been there, I would have made an observation that I would use as a selling point to someone who maybe was a bit close-minded, Dave.
Oh, right.
Didn't want to experience music from the Europes. You know what it's like over here now, Dave. We don't like the Europes.
True.
That's what we keep getting told. The thing about LLNN when listening to it that made me go, you know what this is exactly like? This to me reminds me of Loathe without the melody and without the Deftones. Like, the electronics are used almost identically in the same way in terms of just pure atmosphere and lifting things up. There are several times in the album where the synth is doing what the guitar's doing in the background to add thickness, and it's so thick sounding. And on the vocal side, the vocals are maybe just the angriest thing ever. You know when you stub your toe and you get the N-word scream, you go, and then you think to yourself, what would that sound like if it came out as opposed to going in? That's the vocalist from LLNN. That's what it sounded like. But it's just all the way through the album. Yeah. But the thing that's kind of stood out to me is, on paper, this should be an album that has that I need to be in the angry mood to listen to it. I need to be in a mood to just have my head fucked by an album. And LLNN somehow manages to buck that trend, because this is like a surprisingly Moorish album. And I think it's because of all the stuff that's going on. We would be remiss if we didn't mention our big buddy Jacob, who did the can't say the word now, production. Yeah. And somehow managed to craft the perfect sound for this band. And it's just so thick sounding. I can't begin to like just. It almost feels like, if you've never heard them, the words I'm saying don't do justice to how heavy they are. Yeah. It's a fucking incredible album. It's called Unmaker. It's on Pelagic Records. I know it scored higher with at least one of you, and the other person, I don't know, he's like a renegade now. But it genuinely is one of the heaviest. And this is talking like, you mentioned all your Unique Leader Records albums and all the rest. This is not detuned as that. It doesn't employ as many of the tricks and tomfoolery that those bands do. But I would say they're heavier. This band is about as heavy a band I heard in 2021, and not in a way where it wasn't, it wasn't off-putting to the point that I didn't want to go back and listen to again. Yeah. It's been spun loads. It's the review I wish I'd been on this year. Definitely, because I heard you guys talk about it, and once again, didn't want to agree with you, and then listen to it, and I'm going to do some shot fired here, guys. I think you undersold it. I think it's better than what you guys, even though you both gave it 5s. Right? I would have been like, I would undersell a 5-star album. I would have been saying stuff like, if there was 6 stars, I would have given it 6. I would have given it 30 stars.
I literally had nothing negative to say about the album at all.
But you didn't. Where was the passion, Dave? Where was the passion?
My pants.
Where was that?
Off camera. Slightly out of frame.
I'd like, honestly, like I think in some ways it worked. Your review worked because like it's better than what you guys made it sound. like I was listening and going, this is better. Like, even though you both gave it 5s, and I know that's a grade that Dave gives out sparingly and Kyle only gives out once a year. So, which you could argue sparingly. No, it's
a 5 bands.
It's fucking incredible, but it is so heavy. Yeah. It's like there's no space, there's no gap.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I love about it. It's why it's paired really well with me with Heiress this year. Like the two of those albums since that one's come out. It's just like if you just you had a bad day, shove on some LLNN and everything just feels better. They're from Denmark, which helps me that they didn't go with like a name. They just went with letters, so that's easier to pronounce. LLNN, Unmaker, Pelagic Records. It's fucking heavy, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And Kyle, number 7.
That album is fucking heavy, unbelievably heavy, and that's why it's also my number 8.
Number 8.
It is, yeah.
Number 7.
Absolutely, it is.
We're number 8.
No, it's not number 8.
Well, number 8. Sorry.
You've done your number 8.
Yeah.
It's the
not on the ball now, huh?
That's the fucking
got all meths kicking in there.
No, what is? I'm looking at my number 7 on my screen and thinking, this is what we're talking about right now. We're not. We're talking about number 8. Kyle's number 8 is LLNN, Unmaker.
Yeah.
Back with
same reasons. Fucking heaviest goddamn thing I heard all year. Not even kidding. It's just, I say blow me away a lot this time, but it absolutely did. It just fucked my mind completely. I thought I'd heard the heavier stuff this year, and this was just like, hold my fucking beer, guys. Just that was it.
It's a
Heaviest
wall of
record.
sound.
It's just not. I can't get my head around how they got it to sound that thick. It's just like every
Synth. It's there, man. Go back and
Yeah,
listen
I
to
know.
it. It's behind the guitar.
Yeah.
And huge sections like and bits where I was
Layering
like,
of
why is this
stuff,
so
yeah.
fucking heavy? That's why.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
nuts. I love
And
it.
that there's a lot of that's the band, and a lot of that is Jacob.
And like you said, it's not. There's no. Well, it's a bit, but it's not like completely covered in studio fuckery at all. It's just it sounds so good. It's just like that's what metal should sound like, you know, raw but heavy as shit. So yeah, all right, yeah, LLNN. It's an album we listened to this year.
It's an album I talked about.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to our number 7. My number 7 is
Oh,
King Woman and Celestial Blues.
Ooh,
your voice is getting deep for it now, Dave. Celestial Blue.
But deep as hers. Talk about an album that
Dave's
will,
on 10 a day.
this album will just creep into your psyche and just live there rent free.
I want to live there rent free. I swear to God, I don't know whether I should be scared or aroused right now.
I
Voice
scored-
is fucking doing things to
I
me.
scored this 4.5 when we reviewed it back in July.
And Duncan said that that felt wrong. I'm just being vindicated so many times this recording. I said at the time it was a 5-star album.
I don't remember that, but I just went back to it constantly since then, and it's so addictive. Like so much so that this is one of the albums that has creeped up in score to a 5 for me. Probably like it's probably one of the kind of lightest albums in my top 20 next to like Genghis Tron and DEAFHEAVEN, but that didn't make it any less like captivating. If anything, the amount of like texture and atmosphere made it more infectious. But the key here is the voice of Christina Esfandiari, which is just phenomenal. One of the most distinctive sounds of the year, and the kind of atmospheric kind of doom meets shoegaze meets kind of post-metal that accompanies her voice is just the winning formula in my opinion. A lot of it is kind of slow burn, and a lot of the tracks don't like hit you straight away, but when they build to their kind of crescendo, it's so well done. And as I said earlier, the more you listen to this, the more it just kind of sticks with you. The care and kind of detail that's gone into each arrangement is spectacular. You know, when each song finishes, you can't help but be left totally like gobsmacked. And that like smoky kind of production, just the kind of icing on the cake here. It's, you know, it's gritty, it's earthy, it's spacious, and everything just sounds so organic and natural. You know, it creates such a cool and unique atmosphere on this album. Yeah, love this, absolutely love this album. King Woman Celestial Blues is my number 7. Duncan.
Don't try to be too smug, Duncan. Don't try to be too smug. Sometimes I'm right. I know it might like sometimes I'm right, Dave. When I'm like that. So next time I'm like that, Dave, what, a 4.5? Surely this is a 5. Maybe you should just take a second, take a pause for the cause, and think about it.
You have more time.
Just give it. Number 7 for me.
Little time, think it over.
Oh man, had a little time. So no, didn't you? Anyway, promises. That's the whole song in my head now. Crocodile shoes. Hopefully, people are watching these. Are these all separate videos?
No, one video.
Oh, thank fuck. 'Cause I don't want to point them back to wherever we cracked the Jimmy Nail joke. Rivers of Nail. Number 7 for me. I'm glad I'm getting the kind of goofiness into this because this is a band who are surprisingly goofy whilst at the same time not sounding surprisingly goofy. This band wormed their way into my heart as first a piss-take joke on a podcast episode where I was like, has anyone listened to this band called Bummer? They have a song called I Want to Punch Bruce Springsteen in the Dick. That sounds kind of fun. And then when we come off the recording, I played said song and then messaged Dave straight away and was like that, this is fucking awesome. Dead Horse is their new album. Their record label is this tiny label called Thrill Jockey. I want to say, if you have a spare £5, dollars or whatever in your pocket, give it to Bummer, who have had more accidents with their van in the last, I think they've had to do a GoFundMe 3 times in the last 2 months because their van has broken down on the way to gigs. It does look like a bit of a shit heap, so any money towards them, I will be buying a Bummer t-shirt, which hopefully doesn't say Bummer on it. Hopefully just has the album artwork for obvious reasons. In the UK, Bummer means not what it means in America. It means that you enjoy love of a different end. So
Not in an elevator.
No. Going down. Dead Horse is fucking great. They're a 3-piece band. The production is the most stank thing you will hear this year. It's just ugly. It's just plain ugly. The vocalist looks like he should be serving you coffee at a Starbucks, but for some reason has one of the most pissed off, screamy voices I have heard. It's like what would happen if you skinned your toe and put it in vinegar. The sound that come out your mouth is how that guy sounds. I love the simplicity of it. I love there's elements of Cancer Bats in there. There's swaths of sludge in there. There's bits of punk. It is just angry, and it doesn't take its foot off the pedal at all, unless its van breaks down. You can give money to their GoFundMe, which I hope is still up there. Otherwise, you're just giving money to GoFundMe, and don't do that. This album has been spun to death. I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. I actively follow them on Facebook and Twitter now. Kind of stalk them a little bit. Wish I was a groupie. I think they're amazing. I think they're actually amazing. And once again, a few albums on here, no cunts talking about them. No one's talking about Bummer. I understand
they're surprised because it's such a fucking good album. I listened to it after you recommended it. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, on a tiny record label. The record label obviously has a certain amount of reach. But I just feel like this might be 2021's best kept secret. Overall, I think this is the one. I don't know, and I can't tell you what it is about it that is just the thing that makes it amazing for me.
It's because you also want to punch Bruce Springsteen in the dick.
Oh yeah, kick. There's been a whole month of December when I've had to listen to that live version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's fucking awful, and he should be shot for that. Right? But yeah, I don't know what it is. I think there's a part of me that very much why White Void is in the list, because I didn't get a Ghost album this year, and it's about the closest adjacent thing to a Ghost sounding album. I didn't get a Cancer Bats album this year, and weirdly, Bummer are a runner-up prize, whilst they don't have near the amount of kind of southern grooves or anything like that. It's what Cancer Bats would sound like if you took that out. I just love it. I absolutely love it, and I don't care. Bummer, Dead Horse, and if anything I've said has remotely made you want to check out this album, dear listener out there, please fucking do. Silly, but they have a weird sense of humour as well. Their lyrics are very, very, very bizarre, and they have this kind of self-deprecating tone, which I appreciate greatly alongside their music. So yeah, I love Bummer.
Excellent.
I'm a bummer.
With a name like that, you could be a groupie.
That's my number 7. It's out on Thrill Jockey, Dead Horse, Bummer.
Excellent. Kyle, number 7.
This album is called Love Is a Lie, Filth Is Eternal, by the band Filth Is Eternal. Who used to be called? What did they used to be called? Fuck, I've forgotten it right now. Jesus Christ, there's been some better set. They're called.
I had a
Fucked
terrible,
or something. Yeah, it was called
Fucked with Razors, or what was it called again?
Yeah, I don't remember. I had it in my head and now it's gone.
Yeah, they changed the name. We like the change of name. They should stick with that.
Yeah, I agree. They were like, we're no holds barred band. We're never gonna, we're never gonna hold back and all this. And I'm like, yeah,
never gonna change
a
your
name. And thank God, thank God they did, because we never would have heard them otherwise.
What's the name, Dave? You've remembered? Yeah, no.
I
thought I could see a gleam in your eye where Dave's like, I've got this, lads. Hold on.
Come on. Step back, Big Davey's got it.
Is it not just something like fucked up or something?
Yeah, something like
Nah,
that. Fuck with a knife or something. I'm not sure.
Right, Kyle.
It's a Cannibal Corpse. That's a Cannibal Corpse song.
I understand that, but the band's called Cannibal Corpse. Hi, we are fucked with a knife.
It was almost as bad.
Maybe we're making it. Maybe time has made this like Dave's going to find it. We have to sort it out now.
Fucked Up and Bound.
There we
Fucked
go.
up, but yes, yeah, like the sort of thing that like the BTK Killer would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fucked Up and Bound, and they changed their name to.
Filth is eternal.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it too. It's more,
Yes.
more artsy, more poetic. It's also more fucking true.
Yeah.
I can't what I was going to say about this album, but it was just the production on it for a start.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Alright, that's my number 7. Thanks, guys. I'm ticking it off.
Okay, so moving on to our number 6. Number 6. I was not expecting to be talking about Leprous in my top 20 of the year. That is for damn sure. But
Why is that, Dave?
here we are at number 6 in Dave's list.
Why, Dave?
We're talking
Why?
about Leprous, APHELION. I liked the band in the past, but they were never a band that I would ever be losing my shit about. That was until APHELION came along, and it kind of gave me a new appreciation for this band. This album just kind of sucked me in from the get-go. From the first single they released, I was kind of sold on it. It's a very much a kind of journey of an album, something you'd listen to when you're in the mood for that kind of roller coaster of styles and emotions. They're obviously kind of more well known for the proggy stuff they've done in the past on albums like Coal, but recently they've definitely leaned more into their kind of lighter side musically, almost in a kind of similar way to Catatonia did on City Burials. It's still kind of steeped in prog. They haven't abandoned those roots, but the tracks on this album sound more like actual songs rather than, big kind of proggy kind of wank fests, for want of a better word. More kind of traditional structures and less of the kind of theatrics we've heard on previous releases. But it's also, in my opinion, the most kind of cohesive album they have done to date. The tone on a lot of their previous albums would kind of shift a lot, but on APHELION the flow was perfect, and as an album it's brilliantly balanced, very complete, very kind of fluid sounding. The songwriting is just on another level. You could hear the kind of control was much better, the hooks were bigger, and the diversity on each track was kind of clever but not too wild ever. The kind of main reason that this jumped up to a 5 for me though was the vocals. I think Einar sounds flawless here. This is very much a vocalist appreciation album. He just kind of delivers a masterclass, to be honest, both lyrically and vocally. Lyrically, this is all about his kind of mental health, which he's touched on before, but again, he's handled the topic perfectly. It's emotional, it's believable, and it's delivered impeccably. Just such a well-crafted album, and the fact they've kind of put it together during COVID, using various studios, and the writing process was more kind of fragmented than usual, just kind of blows my mind. The production is absolutely flawless as well. When I was listening again today, like, it sounds like an album that you'd hear from like a bunch of session musicians. Like, everything just sounds so natural. The kit especially sounds awesome. The bass has loads of room in the mix, and nothing feels like kind of overpowering. As I said, I was never one to be psyched for a new Leprous album in the past, but that has totally changed. I'm very much looking forward to hearing the next thing they put out, and I'd love to hear this album live. I think it'd be absolutely awesome to hear in a live setting. So that's my number 6, Leprous and APHELION. Duncan, what you got?
Number 6 for me, it's already been mentioned twice before, so I'll keep it short. DEAFHEAVEN, Infinite Granite on Sargent House Records. A journey that has been a decade in the making to get to this sim that they're in, and even if this is the only album that they ever do in this style before going back to something a bit more blackened, then I think they've done it justice. This, once again, I've used this term a few times, this felt like an important release for me this year, and there was something about it. Just the craft is incredible, production amazing, vocals, like just so many hooks and just things that I love. It certainly appeals to a lot of kind of weird sort of 80s indie jaunts that I have done in the past, in terms of things I grew up listening to, and it captures that whilst putting its own spin on it. And yeah, like I said, it's a benchmark album. I think it's a very important album for DEAFHEAVEN, and give it a year, give it 2 years, and wait and see how many bands sound exactly like this. So yeah, my number 6 was DEAFHEAVEN, Infinite Granite on Sargent House Records.
Nice. And Kyle?
I got Throat, Smile Less.
Ooh.
Because that's what you do when you listen to this album. It is not a happy album. It is very bleak. It's very fucking heavy. And I love that it was so diverse and almost experimental in a way. But it was... turned me on a great deal. Let's put it that way.
I like it.
Easy now.
It ticked all my boxes. Every single one. And it was
making
produced.
you smell more, surely, no?
Well,
It depends. I get the feeling that Kyle might be an angry horny. You know what I mean?
get in.
Oh, yes. This is why I love doing these. It's just the moments that are captured on video and audio for all time.
Oh, man.
I'm so glad my family doesn't watch this.
That is an image I'm never going to forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, man, I'm trying that next
I
time.
can't even remember what the album was now, Kyle. What were you talking about there?
I'm totally bringing that into the bedroom from now on. Get in!
oh wow. It's funny we should do that much laughing during
Smile less.
Smile less, yeah.
It makes him not smile, but it does make him horny.
Apparently so. Oh, that was good job, Duncan.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
Were they finish? Throat.
I have no idea.
They were
Probably with that amount of
rings
bleakness,
a
they have to
bell.
come from a country that experiences no sunlight, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a cool album, though. I like that
That
one.
was great. I loved it so much, and it's I don't know, like it's one of those albums I wish I could buy the CD for. All of these are, but with import tax prices the way they are right now, ain't fucking gonna happen.
Kyle bought a green long t-shirt and is still paying it off on Klarna. So another 6 payments and you'll be able to wear it.
Another 6 payments, and I'll have paid off the interest.
Nice. So that was Throat and Smile Less, number 6. Okay, so we are going to take a short break, and then we're going to do our top 5s of 2020.